The reality is nothing lasts forever. Life is precious and impermanent. And so I have to put into practice every single day. Today is the best day ever. I want everyone that I come in contact with to feel my love and my light because tomorrow may not come. I wanted to lead with love.
What does it really mean or look like to lead with love?
It doesn't mean being perfect, it means being human. Your voice matters, and by sharing it courageously and vulnerably and openly and wholeheartedly, you can change and even save a life.
I know there's going to be a lot of leaders listening to this who all agree with everything we're saying, just going, this sounds great, this is good, but oh my God, I look at my diary and I've got back-to-back meetings, I've got team members off sick. Oh my God, life. What would you say to those people?
I would say with love, those are excuses.
Hello and welcome to the Courageous Leaders podcast. On today's show, we have the brilliant Tricia Brouk, who is joining us from America. Tricia is an international award-winning director, writer and producer, an Amazon best-selling author, event speaker and founder of the Big Talk Academy. She empowers professionals to become thought leaders through authentic storytelling. So let's get started. Tricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. It's a true pleasure.
I'm so grateful for you giving us your time. I know you're a very busy person and coming live here from Manhattan. So thank you. And I'd love to know, for you, what's been a courageous moment in your life to date that you can share with the audience?
There are so many, but I think I'll start by saying one of the most courageous moments in my life was moving from a small town in Missouri to New York City to pursue a career in dance, not knowing anyone, not having a plan aside from $600 in my pocket, and a desire and a dream to become a professional dancer.
Wow. And I think that's a big dream to be a dancer, isn't it? I think, because it's a hard field to get into anyway.
It is not easy to break into the world of show business at any level. But as a dancer, you can't sort of fake being a good dancer. You can kind of fake being a good actor, but you can't fake being a good dancer, and you certainly can't phone in the art form of dance. You have to always be in class. You have to always be working on your skills, and you always have to be in shape and in a state of readiness. And so I think for me, I moved to New York because I knew I was meant to be a dancer. And I didn't really recognize that it took courage until many years later, because I was just doing my thing.
You're just following your heart.
Yeah.
And what do you see? Because I actually, one of my dreams was to be a dancer, not as serious as the path you went down. I hadn't realised, in just reflecting what you said in terms of the discipline, always being ready to show up, how you've got to look after yourself. How has that helped you in now what you do today with the influential work that you do?
Well, I always say that being a dancer has taught me to build a team and a business and be a successful entrepreneur because of the discipline, the grit. I have a massively high risk tolerance, and I am devoted and regimented. And that has really enabled me to be a very successful business owner, entrepreneur, but also leader of my team and leader of my community. And that comes specifically from my desire to lead in a different way. And that is because as a dancer, you're led by your choreographer or by your director in a way that is fear-based. At least when I was dancing, it was all led by fear. And I never wanted to do that. When I knew I would become on the other side of the table and become a director or a choreographer, I wanted to lead with love. And that doesn't mean I'm not demanding. People want to do really good work when they're in my orbit, but it's also because I lead with love. And that is how I inspire people to also become influential voices through my leadership of love, tapping into my Buddha nature, and really inspiring my community and my speakers to want to do their best work.
So if someone's listening now saying, hang on a minute, I kind of think I know what she means, but what does it really mean or look like to lead with love?
It means that I am always listening. I'm in curiosity. I am leading from dignity, respect, compassion. It means that I respond instead of react, and that I have a practice of really pausing, making sure that I know what I'm saying, how it's going to be received. And I'm also always standing with people, beside people, not above people. I'm with my team. I work for my team. I am standing alongside all of my speakers and community members, and together we are better.
That's lovely. And I think, gosh, how the world would be a better place if we could all lead from love. Is this something that was born as part of who you are, or something you needed to learn through experience?
I definitely cultivated creating a team culture that was meaningful to me.
Mm.
And I think my experience of life and my awareness and my study of personal development has also, without a doubt, supported me in my leadership style. It also comes back to the humility. I am from a small town in Missouri, and that is who I am at the core. Now, I have lived in New York City long enough to be a New Yorker, which means I want everything done yesterday. But the kindness, which is different from being nice, the kindness that I lead with is something that I always wanted to just cultivate, because I truly believe you can inspire more from your team, from your community, from your partner, from your friends, if you are kind. And fear-based leadership just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I'd love, could you give me your distinction? You said really interesting there, kindness is different from being nice. What's your distinction there?
When you're being nice to someone, it's oftentimes inauthentic. When you're being kind to someone, you might be saying something that they may not really want to hear, but because you're being kind and how you're delivering it, they can receive it. Being nice isn't necessarily the right thing to do, but being kind is always the right thing to do.
I'm with you on that. I think that's brilliant. What I'm fascinated by, because I'm sitting in front of you now, you're incredibly composed. You look beautiful, beautiful setting. It's ever so calm listening to you. It's lovely. Do you have a bad day? And when you have a bad day, how do you get yourself back into this sort of Buddha energy and calmness?
Thank you for
Yeah.
that reflection, Joe. I received that fully, and that means a lot to me. Of course, I have a bad day. Of course, I have bad days. And I often make jokes with my husband, Joe. I am such a terrible Buddhist today because I'm so impatient about this thing that I really want to happen now. And he laughs. And what I try to do is pause, get still, and become aware of my awareness. And that's something that is not easy for a human being. Being detached from outcomes is not easy for us as humans. And trust me, I am very attached to where I live. I love my apartment. I look out the window and I see the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater, all of those incredible dancers realizing their dreams every single day. I love my husband and I want us to live forever. I love my fur baby, Eva Moon, and I'm very attached to her. And the reality is, nothing lasts forever. Life is precious and impermanent. And so I have to put into practice every single day. Today is the best day ever. And I want everyone that I come in contact with to feel like they're the only person in the room. I want everyone that I come in contact with to feel my love and my light, because tomorrow may not come. And so I try to put that into practice, especially when I'm having a bad day, or when somebody on my team does something, or when somebody who is crossing the street says something rude, which doesn't happen very often, I have to be honest. And that's because I kind of radiate love and light. So when people cross the street in front of me, it's usually like, hello, how are you? But I think it's really about pausing and becoming aware of your awareness. How am I feeling right now? Do I really need to have these emotions of anger? Do I really need to have these emotions of disappointment? I'm not angry. I'm not disappointed. I'm having these feelings. Interesting. Huh. Okay. And then let them go.
I've done a lot of self-development the last 7 years, and it's amazing how you do need the education, I think, to understand that that is what we are capable of doing as human beings. Because before I was even aware of, even before I became aware of my awareness, just aware of even who I am and what I liked and didn't like, you just kind of go through life just like on this hamster wheel, not understanding really how to operate our system, I think. Do you come across that?
I love what you're saying because it does take practice and study. And what I want to point out for your listeners is that that's not egoic. It's actually selfless
Mm.
to put yourself first in terms of study and awareness, because then you can be, to be simple, easier to be around.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I'm much easier to be around now. For me, it just was so empowering to understand how human beings work. I just suddenly felt like I was in the driving seat of my car, and I wasn't just putting autopilot on and it was just driving me around. And I was just like, didn't feel I had a choice.
Yeah, and when you're on autopilot and
Yeah.
being driven around, that's when all the accidents happen.
Yeah.
When you're driving, then you can determine if you're going to go right or left, or if you're going to put on the brakes or speed up or slow down.
And I know there's going to be a lot of leaders listening to this who all agree with everything we're saying, just going, this sounds great, this is good. But oh my God, I look at my diary and I've got back-to-back meetings. I've got team members off sick. I'm supposed to be going on holiday myself in 2 weeks. I've also got my son's not doing so good at school at the moment. Oh my God, life, 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 life. So it sounds good, but I just don't have time to even think about sitting there, becoming aware of my awareness. What would you say to those people?
I would say, with love, those are excuses.
Mm,
We all have the same amount of time. We all live busy lives. We all have lots of priorities. It is a decision that you either make or don't.
mm,
And so today, if you're listening and you are feeling like Joe is speaking to you, that you have a million things and all the team and everything's on fire all the time, make a decision to change that.
mm,
You can literally change your life by getting still. And I'm not suggesting you have to get on the cushion every day. I'm not talking about meditation. I'm actually talking about simply getting still. And then the other thing, as courageous leaders, is don't book yourself back to back. You can create your own calendar and your own life, and it's up to you. And if you're allowing your calendar to run your day, or if you're allowing meetings to run your day, that is on you. And as a courageous leader, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are at your best so that you can serve at the highest level.
yeah, and I think that's the point, is that word leader. You're there to help others. And if you're even just letting your calendar run your day, how can you even begin to start looking after a team? I can see people sitting there going, oh, I get it. But it can be a challenging choice for some people, and to take responsibility for that choice, and to own it.
Yeah, people always say, you're so busy. I know you're so busy. Well, first of all, that's your impression of me because I get so much done. So I want to just have a reframe around that as
Mm,
well. I am organized and I prioritize. And maybe that can be misconstrued as busy, but busy to me is not getting things done. I'm writing a third book. I am working on a Broadway bound musical. I have 14 team members. I am launching several new products. And I am organized so that I can have the kind of impact I desire in the short amount of time I'm on this planet. And so, for those of you who are identifying with being busy, change that, prioritize and organize.
Oh, I feel like that's going to be like your quote when we get this episode live. Just this is what we need to do. Changing tact a little bit here. I love, one of you talked about your books, one of your books, The Influential Voice. A lot of people in courageous leadership positions or, want to become leaders, their voice and their influence is so important. What's your definition of what it means to have an influential voice?
I really love talking about this because being an influential voice means you are conscious and responsible with how you communicate, whether it is across the kitchen table, the dining room table from your kids, whether it is across the boardroom table from your team, whether it is from the stage at an arena, or whether it is across the counter from the barista. You have a responsibility as an influential voice to communicate with good, with love, or with hate and evil. And I hope you're all going to choose good and love, because you can literally change someone's life and save someone's life with how you communicate as an influential voice. Imagine if you're buying a coffee and the person who is making the coffee for you has just had some horrible thing happen in their life, divorce, death, uh, moving. And by you saying, thank you, I hope you have a really wonderful day, that is being an influential voice, and you could potentially ease their suffering in that moment. That is how impactful and how serious I believe in influential voices. And you can do it from anywhere.
And where did this become such a passion for you?
When I started working with thought leaders on how to communicate more effectively, what I came to know is that it it can't end there. It needs to be part of your soul, part of your energy, part of your being. I'll tell you a story. I speak about this all the time, but this story will really bring it into focus for your audience. I live in New York City, Manhattan, in March of 2020. It was scary here. We didn't know what was happening. There's 8 billion people on this tiny island of Manhattan. 8 million, excuse me. And the grocery stores are small. There's lots of people. And our grocery store decided to open 24 hours, 7 days a week, so people could stagger getting food. So at 5 a.m., I would mask up, gloves, the whole thing, and I would go to my local grocery store. And for those of you who don't know, New York City grocery stores are so tiny. You can't really social distance. So I would go at 5 a.m. I would get my basket of food, and Pamela, in full hair and makeup, lashes from behind her mask, she would say, "Looks like you're making enchiladas today. Let's get you another avocado. I've got a really perfect avocado for you. Look at those beautiful flowers you're getting." I would feel seen and heard, and like everything was going to be okay. She influenced me in a way that she will never know, because of how kind she was to me during a very scary time in the world. And so I think about her and I think about my interactions, and she is an influential voice on me. And that's the ripple effect, because now I take that into consideration in all of my exchanges. And hopefully, the person that I am kind to will do the same thing. So, the ripple effect of what it means to be an influential voice is how we unite humanity through speech.
Wow. I got goosebumps hearing that story. It's just, and I think this for me is I'm a big believer in connection and belonging. And it just connects so much in how we can use our voice and our influence to drive that human connection, drive that belonging. And for me, I think then creates a beautiful, courageous environment for people to bring their best selves and live the life that they can.
Absolutely. And I've listened to your podcast. You do that inside of your conversations. You are doing that as well. You are truly an influential voice.
Thank you. Oh, I feel touched now. I'm going to blush. I love it. So, what I'd love to know, I work with a lot of leaders, and something that comes up time and time again, it's not something I specialize in, but I know there's a lot of coaches that do, and yourself, is helping people get on that stage, helping them write their keynote, present, find their voice. What is it, do you think? Where does this fear come from that does stop so many people finding their voice?
There's a few reasons. One of the most pervasive reasons is they don't think their story has value or that their personal trauma is traumatic enough. And I find that to be so fascinating. I will have speakers come to me and they say, I wasn't accosted, or I wasn't assaulted, or I did not have sexual assault or abuse. I've only been divorced. And I say to them, let's not compare our trauma. If you want to talk about how you survived, thrived, moved through something, whether it's divorce, whether it's cancer, whether it's sexual assault, trafficking, whatever it is, there is one person out there in the world who needs to hear from you. And if you don't share your story with them, you are preventing that person from potentially healing. And I don't believe you are selfish. And as soon as we reframe that and they realize, oh, I am being selfish by not sharing my story, they immediately have the freedom and the confidence and the permission to actually step fully into who they are as an influential voice.
And do you believe that to be someone who can go out there and do a keynote and stuff, does it need to come from a place of trauma?
Never,
Yeah.
never. It doesn't need to come from a place of trauma. If you make the decision to speak on big stages, it needs to come from a place of service. Now, if there is a personal story that you want to share in order to connect us to you, whether it's a vulnerable story, whether it's a personal story, whether it's a triumphant story, that's a great way to connect to an audience because we can see ourselves in you, or we can see who we want to aspire to be in you. But when you make the decision to speak and stand on a big stage, it must be to serve the audience. And that's why you might feel a disconnect when you have certain speakers. You're like, I like what they're saying. It makes sense, but I just can't connect to them. It's because they're making it about them, or they're not being authentic and vulnerable as they share with you and connect to the audience, making it about you.
Yeah. And that's such a fine line, isn't it? Because I remember, because I've been on stage for the last few years now, and I'm a natural introvert. So it took a while for me to get confident to do it. And now you can't get me off. Love it. But is that line of, I kept questioning myself, well, the story I'm saying is my story, my personal story. It doesn't, in that fine line of going, when is it making it about you, but you're using your own personal story to help others? And that is that fine balance, isn't it? I think.
Yes, and that's about narrating. When you're narrating your personal story and sharing it in service of the audience's learning, then it's about them and not about you. I tell a story about me being 13 and in a dance competition in St. Louis. All the girls were rich. I was not. All the girls had beautiful dresses. My dress was gray and it was from Sears. And I tell this story, and it is all about me. However, it is about the audience understanding that anything is possible.
So you know the outcome you want the audience to take away versus I just want you to sympathize with my story.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
know. Yeah, the feeling I want to create in you. Has there been a time where you've been on stage and I don't know, you lost your train of thought, or it just, you could feel it wasn't connecting? Where's a time where you're like, oh, that was a challenge?
When I was dancing, there would be many times where I would either fall, literally fall on stage and have to get back up and get back into it, or I would miss a step and then the stories start, oh, I'm not perfect. And you have to like hurry up and get back into it. But what's so remarkable is that as a dancer trained me to never get ruffled now, because when you're dancing, the music doesn't stop. You can't pause and catch yourself. You have to keep going. The music is not stopping. But when you're speaking, you can take a beat, think about what you're going to say next, or make an adjustment if your slide doesn't advance the way you want it to. So I am so much more in control of the outcome as a speaker than I ever was as a dancer because I don't have the music. Now, not to say I always use multimedia. I have music, I have film, I have voiceovers, I have sound effects in all of my presentations. So if those things don't work, I pause and ask for help,
Mm.
but I never apologize. That's something I want your audience to understand. No matter what goes wrong, if a light fixture falls onto the stage and almost knocks you out, don't apologize. Don't make a thing out of it. Simply ask for help.
So many people are not getting on the stage because they're worried about all the things that will go wrong. And I think your story as a dancer is brilliant. And for me, I remember during COVID, I did my first presentation to 150 people online. And it's the first time, it hasn't happened to me since, but it's okay if it does. But I lost my train of thought. And it was lovely to say I didn't apologize. I was just, okay, that's cool. He'll come back. And I think because I was just so calm, afterwards, the feedback I got, it was actually you losing your train of thought was another big lesson in itself in the way you navigated it. And I'm so grateful that happened because I've now not got the fear of it happening. So it's like get on the stage and just let these things happen because then you soon realize they're not as scary or as big as you think they're going to be. And people are very forgiving. Most of your audience want you to do well.
They do. They want you to do well. That's absolutely right. They're excited for you. They want you to do well. They're cheering you on. They're radiating love up at you on that stage. And all you need to do is serve them. And it doesn't mean being perfect, it means
Yeah.
being human.
Beautifully said. What's something right now? I know you're doing your third book. What's the focus, if you're happy to share, what's the focus for you now where you're really kind of leaning in to help people?
I am, in addition to the Big Talk Academy and all of the work that I do with thought leaders in terms of communicating effectively for impact, I am very excited to be merging my Buddhist practice with my leadership practice. And I really want to teach leaders how they can be more successful if they tap into their Buddha nature. And it's not religion, it's not spirituality, it is philosophy. And when we understand the importance of detachment and impermanence and oneness as leaders, we can succeed it at home, at work, and in community and really become more effective.
And are you finding people are ready to listen to this message?
People are so ready to learn how to effortlessly lead and have effective outcomes. That's what people are ready to learn. And it's a unique point of view and one that I really believe in because I do believe we're all connected. I do believe we're all one. And I know that when we think collectively as a consciousness, that's how we can raise the vibration of the world and of humanity. And we've got a planet who needs our help right now. We've got a society who needs our help right now. And by tapping into the loving kindness of our Buddha nature, that is how we can come together and really make the world a better place.
I love it. Well, I'm very excited. When's the book coming out?
October 27th, 2025.
Oh, not too long to wait. Okay, we'll get that ready. Very, very exciting. What I'd love to know, it's been an absolute joy talking to you. I'd love to know through all your wisdom and the journey from dance to the big talk to your books, everything you've achieved. What's that advice you'd pass on to your younger self?
Joe, I would say to her, you are stronger than anyone I know.
That's wow. And I'm just curious questions just come up for me. Has that come up because you didn't feel stronger when you were younger, or do you just maybe didn't realize how strong you were?
I didn't realize how strong I was. I was always, this is part of my success as well, is I was naive. I just didn't know. So I accomplished everything because I didn't know I couldn't.
That's nice. Sometimes maybe it's better not to know that. We would just keep going, just keep trying things
Yes,
out. I think it's
yes, yes.
brilliant. Is there anything else where we got the audience listening of leaders, what we've been talking about? Is there anything we've missed? Any other messages you'd like to get across?
I think this has been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate the work that you do in the world and having me on the show.
Thank you.
And for your audience to just really remember that your voice matters. And by sharing it courageously and vulnerably and openly and wholeheartedly, you can change and even save a life.
What a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much. I just want to share and reflect back to you. The joy of meeting you and the joy of just being in your company for this short period of time already has just got me reflecting. It's just got me thinking, just calm down a little bit, be more conscious, and even just being more conscious in the interactions I know I'm going to have tonight. And just, I think that reminder, because I think sometimes we can know this stuff, but these little reminders of meeting people like yourself to go, actually, we've all got worries, fears, busy, or, hopefully more organized, prioritized lives now, not busy lives. But just taking a moment to breathe, pause, and connect. And as you say, use our voice to do that, because it's probably the most powerful tool we have in bringing human beings together.
Yeah. And I'll do one better for you. I'm going to give you a free visualization.
Oh,
if you go to triciabrouk.com/power,
yeah.
you can download a free visualization that will assist with everything you just described.
Beautiful. We'll add that into the show notes and all the social posts we share about this as well. But Tricia, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy, and congratulations on all you've achieved and I know you're going to as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for all of our listeners, and we will see you next week. Take care. If you've been loving our Courageous Leaders podcast, please can I ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps keep the quality content coming and reach listeners like you that we can then really, really help. We fund this podcast ourselves, so to have your support means that we can keep delivering week on week. Thank you.